To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today. I'm Sakshi Batra, and the countdown to the Union Budget 2022-2023 has begun. And expectations from all the sectors of the economy are rising from some kind of a relief from the budget so that they can overcome the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And one such sector is insurance as well. We all know how the importance of insurance has grown over the last 2 years in all our lives, especially on the back of COVID-19. We all have realized the importance of it, but the sector itself has faced many challenges. Let's hear from our special guest today. I have with me Mr. Sarbvir Singh joining in, who is the CEO of PolicyBazaar, to help us understand what the sector is really expecting from this upcoming budget. Sarbvir, thank you so much for taking our time for us, and thank you for this conversation.
Yeah, hi Sakshi, good to be here.
So Sarbvir, let me ask you, upfront, the big budget is about to be coming, but there is a whole lot of confusion as to whether this budget will have enough to provide to all the sectors who are reeling under the pressure of the pandemic. We've already seen that the purse strings are already tight for the government as well. But overall for the economy, do you think the government will have enough ammunition to pump prime the economy?
I think, Sakshi, last year the government took a very important stand, right? So we've been on this path of fiscal stability, etc. And they said that because of COVID and because this is an unnatural situation, we need to go beyond that and do things which are over and above that. So I think the deficit, etc., was, increased. So I think that was a great move, and I'm sure that the government, having, fully aware of the challenges that we all are facing, will continue to go down that path. And to me, that means that, there will be more infrastructure spending, and hopefully they'll take a chance on the consumer as well this time and give something back to the consumer, because I think that will kickstart the economy and will, further add to the growth that we all are expecting.
Absolutely. And that's what we are really hoping for, so that the consumption and demand is given some kind of an impetus in this budget, which can obviously come into the other sectors as well. Particularly coming to your sector, insurance space, I wanted to understand the big challenges that the sector has really faced in the last 2 years, and now on the back of the third wave that we are facing right now, so that you can help us understand the position of the sector and what really is needed to revive it from the effects of the pandemic.
So Sakshi, actually, the insurance sector, touchwood, has been doing reasonably well through the last 2 years as well. And then the reason is not difficult to fathom. I think the fact that something like COVID happened, it was like, like a shock, right? And insurance finally relies on the fact that when people realize that tough things can happen, that's when they take insurance. And I think this was like a global shock. So to that extent, I think it's been a wake-up call for consumers. That has definitely helped the sector. Having said that, there are always a few things the government can do to make things better. And we hope that, for instance, things like the limit for health insurance under Section 80D, for many years has been at 25,000 rupees. And as we know today, we understand that you need to have much more health insurance cover than we probably thought earlier. So I think that 25,000 may not be adequate. Maybe they could consider revising that. Similarly, I think there have been proposals around the fact that protection is more important, right? So the fact that term insurance, that should there be a separate section or a section for term insurance, which would allow and popularize, term insurance, which is very important for the consumer. So we hope that some of these things will come through this year. I think over the last 2 years, the importance of insurance has only grown.
Absolutely, no denying that. But just like how you pointed out, term insurance so far, as we understand right now, is most of the people go for a term insurance only for the fact that it saves you some tax, but not for the real importance of term insurance in their life. Perhaps COVID-19 has changed that thought process somewhat. We know that awareness has increased in the country of how much insurance is really needed to safeguard your family and to not get into the financially crunch situations. But I wanted to understand, how much cover is needed and all of those aspects, the deeper penetration. We're still an under-penetrated country. So how can all those things be catered to, and can the budget do anything about it too?
So I think, Sakshi, the first thing, of course, is that it's, there are things beyond the budget, right, to actually increase penetration. And one of the key things is awareness ease of buying, ease of, there is always some skepticism around the claims experience. So I think all of those things the industry continues to work on. Now, what the budget can do, because you see, the budget is a big bang event, right? Everybody talks about it, reads about it. And the tax situation, whether, we like it or not, tax is a huge stimulus for people to do things. So if through the tax code, we are able to, give some, like I said, some further allowance for protection products, both health and term, then I think people will definitely become much more aware about them, and I think they will buy them. So rightly or wrongly, I think tax is a very good way of inculcating the right behaviors.
Right. Also help us understand what's been your experience with the third wave when you compare it with the previous two waves. Are people going ahead buying more insurance at this point in time? What's really happening on ground?
Yeah, so I'll just speak a little qualitatively since we are a listed company. We had actually, released some numbers. Like, so for the last quarter, our, life insurance business grew 73% and our health insurance business grew 50%. So you can see that the growth is definitely, there's a lot of demand for this stuff. I would say that in January also, we have seen a continuation of these trends. People are eager to buy health insurance and term insurance. Now, of course, our experience with the third wave is probably similar to what everyone is seeing. That touchwood, while the number of cases are obviously have grown as is being reported, but they seem to be milder. So we hope that that things will remain a bit more subdued, and this wave will pass, and maybe we'll get past COVID eventually.
Absolutely. Hopefully so too. Since you are talking about your numbers, wanted to a little bit understand on the claims aspect as well. What's been your experience there? And do you think there could be another wave of a rise in the premiums? We have seen in your numbers too that there's been a 67% odd growth in the premiums in this quarter as well. So what's the kind of outlook that you have here?
So premium growth has been largely driven by volume, as in the number of policies. The pricing actually has not changed very much because obviously the regulator has also been very keen to make sure that prices don't go up in a time when consumers need insurance. So there is some increase in prices on the term side, which is coming through. On the health side has been fairly subdued. Now it is anybody's guess that at some point, because you see there is a pressure from the claim side and the prices not going up. So eventually there will be some change. But at this point, what we've seen is that term prices have gone up a bit. Health insurance prices have largely remained, I would say, stable.
Okay. What's that one thing that you're definitely looking from the budget? What's on top of your radar that this thing is absolutely essential and imperative for the sector to come at this point in time to really help push the sector further?
I actually feel that from a sector perspective, we would love, like I said, to have greater focus on protection and a different set of deductions for protection. That would be wonderful if we could get that. But I think overall, I always say that if we can maintain status quo and, not make any changes, right, especially on the investment side, because there is a tendency for things to keep moving in that area. If we can maintain status quo, I think that would actually be a fairly good outcome. I would rather that we focus and the government focuses on overall economy, right? Because in the end, we are a very derivative of the economy. So if the economy does well, the consumer does well, then I think we'll also do well. So I think that's actually our P1, I would say.
Right. The government has in the previous budgets and, between budgets also announced several steps, including the Ayushman Bharat scheme. How has that really, what's been your sense of how over the years this has grown, the awareness, are people taking more benefit of it? How has this really, just to get a sense of how has this helped the government steps?
So I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there are many things that happen during the year. So the budget is no longer the only event, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those steps have increased awareness. To my mind, the main thing is that, see, insurance, once you understand it, is a no-brainer, right? I mean, you should pay a small amount of money to protect yourself against, unfortunate event. The whole thing is about awareness. So whenever, there's a discussion about Ayushman Bharat and, when the Honorable Prime Minister, etc., talks about these kind of things, I think it just creates a huge amount of awareness. And and what we've seen is that any form of coverage, like even if people start from a government scheme and then over time they may actually move to more deeper covers, that's perfectly fine. So the main thing is to get the base activated, right? Because our strength is in numbers, right? So we need to get the numbers activated, and I think some of these steps have been wonderful. The National Digital Health Mission that has been recently started on 15th August this year, that I think also has a huge ability to change the landscape, right? By making the whole claims experience very simple and straightforward. So we are very excited, and we are working on some of these initiatives, and hoping to bring them to consumers.
Right. One big ask that most of the times I hear the industry, spokesperson talk about is how the FDI limit should increase from the current level. Is that something that you also have something on your radar?
So in the insurance intermediaries, we are an insurance intermediary, 100% FDI is now allowed. So I guess we don't really have an ask there anymore. But
right.
I think the only thing I would say on that side is that if there could be a little bit more clarity around what is an Indian owned and controlled company, I think that would help. Because there are some definitions which are different in different areas. And it would be just great if you could just make it clear that if Indians are in charge, then it's an Indian controlled company. So I think that's an important thing from our perspective.
All right, got that. Thank you so much, then, Sarbvir, for this conversation, enlightening us with the kind of big expectations that we have from the budget. But the last word that you said was that even if it is status quo, we'd be quite happy, not too much rejig from the current time, and overall impact on the economy and the consumers, giving that extra disposable income in the hands of consumers could actually benefit the insurance sector overall as well. Thank you very much. Great speaking with you and seeking insights. So let's hope to catch you again post the budget to speak about the fine print of the budget also on Business Today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sakshi.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.